guys, welcome to the show. This week it's
Amaterasu.
Amaterasu is known as a major deity in the Shinto belief. She's most known for being the deity of the sun. However, she's also known as the deity of the universe. And her full name, Amaterasu Okami, literally means the August god shining from heaven, roughly translated. She was first mentioned around 680 AD in the Kojiki, and she was also mentioned around, I believe, 720, maybe 740 AD in the Nihon Shoki. And if you listen to my previous videos, those are basically some of the oldest known records of Japanese history or mythology. So the coming about of Amaterasu happened when her father, whom was Izanagi, basically washed out his left eye. He'd gone to bathe himself and cleanse himself, and when he washed his left eye, Amaterasu emerged. Fun fact from Japan, number uno. That's right, we're going Spanish here. Pseudo-Spanish even. So the fun fact about Amaterasu is that presumably the Emperor of Japan actually is a descendant of Amaterasu Okami. She became ruler of the heavens with her brother Tsukuyomi, and they ruled together in the heavens until Tsukuyomi became disgusted by the goddess Ukemochi because she apparently pulled food from her rectum and her nose and her mouth. And so apparently Tsukuyomi became disgusted by this, and so he murdered her. And in repulsion, Amaterasu turned her brother away and cast him down into the night, so thus splitting night from day. Killing upset Amaterasu so much that she labeled Tsukuyomi as an evil god. So when she split him away, essentially she was saying, "No more of you." Another fun fact about Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi is not only were they brother and sister, but they were also lovers. Sibling rivalry time. So, one of the other gods born from Izanagi was I think it's Susanoo, and he was born from the nose of Izanagi. And basically they had this rivalry going on for a long time, and when she was turned away from her lover and brother, Susanoo came up and he offered to essentially bid his sister goodbye, and she was suspicious. So in order to prove himself, Susanoo proposed that a challenge to prove his sincerity. So by doing this, basically he said each person took an item from the other person and they birthed gods and goddesses. So from her necklace, 5 gods were born, and from Susanoo's sword, I believe 3 goddesses were born. And so Amaterasu proclaimed that she won because from her necklace 5 gods were born, whereas his was goddesses. Basically, the two were content for a time, but her brother became restless, and Susanoo became restless and attacked all of her rice fields, meaning it must have been something bad for the people at the time, some kind of catastrophe with the rice fields not being productive or something to that effect. Also, he hurled a flayed pony at her loom, and killed one of her attendants in a fit of rage. Amaterasu, who was in a fury and also rage and grief, hid in the Ama no Iwato, which is the heavenly rock cave. So she literally went into a cave to hide, thus effectively hiding the sun from the earth. So eventually Amaterasu was persuaded to leave the cave, but Susanoo was banished from heaven. Eventually they were able to amend their conflict, and Susanoo was able to give her the Kusunagi no Suguri. Suguri, I believe is how it's pronounced. So according to legend, Amaterasu bequeathed to her descendant Ninigi, the mirror, Yata no Kagami, the jewel, and the sword Kusunagi no Tsuguri. The sacred mirror, the jewel, and the sword became the regalia of Japan. Pretty cool, right? So if you would like to go to Japan and worship the sun goddess, you can actually go to Ise Shrine or Ise Grand Shrine in Honshu, Japan, which is southern Japan. You can go into the houses in the inner shrine, which is called Naiku, which is where her sacred mirror resides. And you're not allowed to actually go into her temple. Only the imperial family, which are technically descendants of Amaterasu, according to legend, can enter. A normal common person cannot enter that temple. Amaterasu is worshipped every 20 years. The main shrine buildings are destroyed and rebuilt again in honor of the goddess. I always thought that was really fascinating. I found out about that a few years ago when I was writing Hell's Gate. Not only is the shrine rebuilt, but they also offer new food and clothing as well. And this has been part of the Shinto belief and has been practiced since 690 AD. This has been a long practice. A bit about the Kojiki, which is the oldest chronicle in Japan. It was written by a gentleman of the name of O no Yasumaru. O no Yasumaru. O means like great or honorable. And he actually wrote this for Empress Genmei. Genmei, I believe is how you pronounce it. So this was actually written for an empress at the time. And I believe it would have been written roughly around the 8th century. So they do have it on Amazon. They have the Kojiki as well as the Nihon Shoki. So if you're interested in reading both of those, now they are a little long-winded because the Kojiki is, you'll see a lot of hyphenated names in there, and they're really long names. And that's because Japanese, in comparison to English, is a very circular language. When you're listening to Japanese, you actually have to get to the very end of the sentence to be able to fully comprehend what it is that's been said to you. So when translating Japanese, a lot of times you'll see at the UN and whatnot, they'll have to listen to the entire sentence to fully grasp what it is that's just been said because of the circular aspect of the language. The things we learn. The Kojiki was a book of myths, and it was used to describe the creation of the 4 main islands, or original islands, in Japan. This was inspiration for Shinto practices, as well as myths, including the misogi. The misogi is a purification ritual, which is very important within the Shinto faith and religion. This concludes this week's show of Personified. Next weekend will be the North Texas Comic Book Show, in which I get to torture people live. Awesome! It's going to be really fun, and there's going to be a lot of people there, so I'm super excited to get to hopefully interview a few of those people that are going to be there, as well as I will also be there doing book signings and giving up some info about up-and-coming projects and short films that will be on YouTube sometime this coming year in 2014. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and look forward to doing future shows for you guys. All right, rock on. It must suck not to be me.
Bitch.